Well, here we are, Cinco de Mayo. We just had a great lunch. Nobody dressed up today. I was a little bit disappointed.
I'm not really sure what you're supposed to wear for Cinco de Mayo.
Oh, come on now. Come on. You know what? On St. Patty's Day, is there ever a question?
That's true. You're supposed to wear green.
I always
That's right.
forget, though.
Yeah, I always forget too.
Yeah.
But you're wearing green today.
Oh,
so.
I am. I'm late.
There you go.
I'm a few weeks late.
Yeah.
I'll catch up to Cinco de Mayo in a few
I can't
weeks.
criticize. I didn't dress up either. But next year we got to do that.
Yeah, we should.
Yeah. But food was delicious. We got to sit outside without masks on.
Felt like summer out there.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah,
so hot.
it was so warm.
Yeah, so we're going to be talking about celebrity divorces again. This is, I think, our 5th segment, if I'm counting them right. But before we do that, I want to talk to you a little bit about a television experience I had last night. Either one of you hear about this?
I heard about it through the grapevine.
Okay, so, go and look at it someday. I mean, it's going to be on the internet. I'm sure it'll probably be played, at my funeral someday. So I'm doing court TV, right? And, the host introduces the topic, and I'm hearing that they're coming, live real soon. As I'm sitting there waiting for my turn to speak, I hear some rumbling going on within the office. Now, this is after 5 o'clock. Everybody's gone from the office except for me. And I have my door closed. The lights are turned down or off, basically. And I'm looking into the camera because we're doing this thing by Skype. And I hear some noise out there, and I'm thinking, okay, I've had that before, but it's never really interrupted with our television appearances. So I'm waiting. Finally, the host, who's Vinny, Don Schweitzer, what do you think about that? And I launch into my answer, and all of a sudden I hear my door open. And I go, oh, my God, man. And I could just tell that it's the cleaning crew, right? So I'm answering the question, and I have my right arm out like this, and I'm going like this, right? Waving, The lady apparently doesn't see my hand.
Oh, no.
I put my hand down, and I'm trying my best to act like nothing's happening, hoping that they don't see the arm, but they did, and I'll tell you why in a second. So next thing I'm looking at the camera, and the lady's walking right behind me. This is a national TV. She's got her mask on.
Oh, boy.
And she then looks underneath the desk like this because she's looking for the garbage can, and I see the host, Vinny's face just go, what the heck is going on? And all I could think is say something quick, right? So I'm like, I don't mind my personal assistant, and then I... So I continue answering the question, thinking they're never going to call me on this thing again, and stuff. But I made it through alive, but it was like unbelievable. And I was, so all day long we've been joking about that with Maria.
Oh, wow.
Maria's at home. And during the break, I see that she sent a text message to the manager of this corporate complex here saying, by the way, the cleaning crew did this. And she described exactly what took place. So I was hoping that, the people in the studio would be able to go, oh, let's cut to, something else, and hear his voice but not show anything. But apparently on TV, you have my arm going, like this. And then this lady, so.
The perils of live TV, right?
Yeah.
The perils of live TV.
Yeah.
We've all had a run-in with the cleaning crew, I think, at one point.
I will say, though, every morning the office is spotless.
Yeah.
And it's probably because of our very, very fastidious cleaning crew that takes their job very, very seriously, apparently.
You're right. I've never had a problem with
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
Yeah, but, I'm thinking when you walk into the office and you got some guys in a suit all buttoned up, the lights are off. I mean, I don't know what you think's going on here, but he's talking into the screen.
Maybe get the trash the
She's
next
like, the
morning.
cleaning must go on, whether you're on TV or
More
not.
important,
Yeah.
right. I actually like the lady. I've made my acquaintances with her, and I think she feels very comfortable. So coming into my office, why not? So
She probably was just thinking that she was helping you out.
that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. What the heck? They won't think anything.
Yeah.
I am waiting for the producer and the people to what their comments are because who knows. I hope it was taken lightly. They didn't say anything after its word, so it's like okay.
Yeah. Oh, it's live TV. I'm sure they understand.
Hopefully. Yeah. Okay, let's talk about celebrity divorces. And this is another big one. It seems like every time we do this one, some big bombshell hits. I mean, we've been talking about the Kardashians for a long time, and there's so much going on, but we even have a bigger one today.
Oh, yeah.
So how do you want to start off? I know you both have your stories you want to report with. Who goes first?
I think we have to start with Bill and Melinda
I do
Gates.
too.
I think we have to because this year we had Jeff Bezos get divorced, which basically was through shockwaves through the family law world already, because you don't see billionaires get divorced that often.
Well, there's not that many of them.
No, there's not that many of them, number one, but not less than 3 or 4 months later,
Yeah.
down comes a wire. Bill and Melinda Gates are now getting a divorce, and they're filing.
Wait, you're not telling me that old Bill Gates is a copycat? Then he sees that Jeff's done it, so he's going to do it.
Well, he's a respondent in this case.
Oh, he is?
Yeah, so he's a respondent in this
Oh.
case. Melinda Gates is the one that actually filed in King County. That's up in Washington. Their standard language, interestingly enough, is irretrievably broken. Well, we use irreconcilable differences here. So that's their
Kind of an
basis.
old-fashioned way of saying the same thing, kind of, or no? Irretrievably broken?
Irretrievably broken. So it's kind of interesting.
You
to
could,
see.
it could be broken, but you could retrieve it.
I guess so. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And the big issue, obviously, is the fact that they got married without a prenuptial agreement, whereas the Bezos one is a little bit different.
Gates got married without a prenup. You know that
Oh, yeah.
you know what year he got married? 1993.
Yeah.
Right? The same age as my daughter. Okay, so I can tell you right now that Bill Gates was a billionaire in 1993.
Yep.
He was one of the wealthiest men in the country. He had already made his bones.
Right.
Everybody purchased Microsoft around the world. He marries without a prenup.
Oh yeah. Even the most richest men in the world can sometimes do things that
In the name of
really
love.
kind of make you scratch your head in the name of love.
Yeah.
Exactly, like you said. So no prenup in this one, but fortunately, Melinda has stated that spousal support is not requested.
Oh, well.
Well.
Presumably because they're both really, really, really rich. And it sounds like the biggest issue is the division of their property.
Yeah.
Is it an issue?
Oh yeah.
Well, it's a $1 billion divorce.
Well, but the Bezos were like, well, you take this, I'll take that, and there was no issues. I mean, it was just about how are we going to cut the cake.
They have that foundation, which is a family foundation, and I
Right.
think they employ so many people and they pay through so many charities that everyone's a little bit scared as to how that's going to be split up, how that's going to affect employment, where the monies are going to go to, because they paid a lot of money for COVID relief, and if that's going to keep coming or if that's going to stop. So it'll be interesting.
Well,
Yeah.
so I don't want to rush this because this is a very intriguing case. I mean, there's two men that I think are going to be right up there in the 20th century as the biggest movers and shakers that changed the world. And that's Steve Jobs and Bill Gates. Jobs, dies at the age of 56. He was a very eccentric, fast loose guy, and stuff. Wasn't particularly warm and fuzzy. Bill Gates, on the other hand, was kind of a hometown type of guy. His mama and papa loved him, right? He marries without a prenuptial agreement,
Right.
And he's got all these, do good things that he does post, retirement and stuff. So now he's in this divorce, right? And I think that it was not about money. I mean, when you talk about billionaires,
Yep.
I mean, multi-billionaires, it's not going to be about money. That's not why they're fighting, right? It's just about incompatibility. But, what you mentioned with the foundation thing, I think of the same thing with the Bezos. I mean, Jeff and his wife built an empire of a business. I mean,
Yep.
he didn't just do that himself. I mean,
Right.
he started that with the partnership of his wife. I mean,
Right.
he described sitting in the living room floor and taping up boxes and getting things ready. Gates, he had Microsoft already, but that foundation was created with
Yeah.
the two of them, right?
That's right.
And it's just like not enough to hold them together, apparently.
Well, she, in an interview in 2019, she said that he was really hesitant to marry her in the beginning because he didn't know if he could balance work and
Gates.
being
Gates said this?
yes,
Okay.
and work and being a husband and being there for her and the marriage. And then she said that they had been having problems in the past, and there were days where she was like, I can't do this. So I'm wondering, why didn't they get a post-nup?
Yeah. And the
Well,
other,
If
the other-
he at first was even hesitant.
I don't think he could
and-
care. It's money, man. I mean, how much money does the guy need?
well, I think you have to ask a question, like how much was the fact that they were working together in this foundation a reason for the divorce? I mean, marriages are hard in and of themselves. Running a business is also extremely hard, right?
Yeah.
And you do it with Maria, and you guys are
We're
fine.
very the small percentage of people that still love each other afterwards.
I can't imagine that it would be easy, and you
Right.
have to wonder if that was a part of the reason why. But when we talk about assets, Bill Gates' interest in Microsoft is only 1%, but that 1% is worth 146 billion with a B dollars.
Oh my God.
So it's just a couple things. Number one, Microsoft is worth a lot of money.
Yeah.
And number two, for him to not only found the company and build it into what it is today, but only be holding a 1% interest in it, that's
amazing.
That says a lot about what he has given up, presumably to either enter the marriage or as a part of building up the business to what it is today.
Let me say this though is if you watch that guy, he was a workaholic.
Yeah.
He still is a workaholic in his brain because we know what he does for fun. He sits around and reads science books, He reads engineering books, things that, most people would go, gag me, man. I can't read this stuff.
You mean you don't do that on your weekends?
Sorry. I don't get this, textbook from Stanford, man, about, some kind of a, engineering theory or something,
right,
and find that to be bedtime reading, man. I mean, but if you see clips of him, he's got a special room. And that's what he does, you know. And I guess he's got a female friend that he used to date, and, they're bonded because they both like to do things like that, and stuff. And I'm thinking, I don't know anything about Melinda. Is that her name, Melinda?
Yeah.
But, how could you be compatible? It's kind of like Warren Buffett. His
Right.
wife, went, Warren, you like to, sit there and look at your numbers and spend 10 hours in your little room and study and things like that. I want a wife. So I'm going to move to San Francisco, and you can continue doing that, and I'll hire somebody to feed you.
Right.
It just seems like these billionaire types. I mean, even Jobs, man, and they're so obsessed and everything like that it's not really the personality that you would see as making it in a marriage. I mean, 27 years married to somebody like that is pretty incredible.
Well, here's a question: What can we learn from these types of billionaire divorces?
Get a prenup.
Tell me.
Number one, get a prenup. But
Why? Why?
I mean, you have assets at stake. You have spousal support and alimony at
But
stake.
Gates has said, both of them said that we're only going to give our kids
Right.
a fraction of a percent of what we have because they think that it's bad to pass on enormous wealth to children. Right? They want you to learn on yourself. So, so why would he want a marital agreement like that?
Well, here's the second lesson.
Okay.
In the event you don't have one, do what the billionaires do. So in Bill and Melinda's case, they are going to divide up their property pursuant to a separation contract, which I think in our language is basically a marital settlement agreement, which was already, I think, agreed to by the parties prior to the filing. So when I say, what can we learn from the lessons from the billionaires? Work out your disagreements before you file in court, right? And that'll save you a lot of time and a lot of money.
Well, and more importantly, privacy.
Absolutely.
Right? Because I believe that will never see the light of day so long as they comply with it, right?
Yeah.
Right. I don't think so. So protect your assets, protect your privacy, work it out amongst yourselves and, submit your judgment to the court and just move on with your life.
Okay. So you got perhaps two of the wealthiest people in the world, they're going to be single. Who is more eligible? Come on, Mane, who's more eligible?
I don't know.
Kind of the both. I mean,
Yeah,
I
they're both
think
pretty
both.
eligible. I
Yeah.
think I have a theory that all you really need to do in life to succeed is you do one thing and you do it well.
Yeah.
You really only need to do one thing in life,
Right.
but you just got to go full throttle at whatever you do. And Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, Steve Jobs, they're examples of that. So it really doesn't matter. I mean, they're going to be set for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
If I was that rich, I probably wouldn't get married, but that's just me.
Well, here's something to think
Oprah.
about also.
Oprah.
With these divorces, we're seeing, couples well into their 50s, 60s, sometimes even 70s getting divorced. And there was an article in Kiplinger that came out last month talking about gray divorces and the rise in gray divorces. And gray divorces is a term that we use to describe divorces by parties that are over 50 years of age. And
People like me?
Oh, you don't have that much gray on you, but that's just a term. And they cited a couple of reasons. Number one is that the stigma around divorces is starting to change a little bit more now. Before divorces, they were always viewed quite negatively, right? Either religiously, culturally, things like that. I think we've become, as a society, much more acceptable of divorces and post-divorce people.
That's probably true.
Longer life expectancy, which is good news for everyone. A lot of people are trying to stay together for kids now. So until the kids either enter college or graduate from college, then they'll go ahead and file their divorce. And then the big reason I think that they brought up was COVID. COVID and being kind of dissatisfied with where you are and a lot of the feelings of, your own mortality and what's going to be coming up next. So that's kind of a big reason. I think that they're saying is one of the rises for the Great Divorce trend that we're seeing so much right now.
Is there anything else on that list, sir?
So the last one that they said is financial headwinds for women. Now that women are starting to enter the workforce and their earning capacity is
They're not as dependent.
They're no longer as dependent. They're no longer as needing to remain in a dissatisfactory relationship as well.
Okay, I agree with all of those, but I have to ask you: is there anything else on that list?
That's all they listed.
Okay, well, I'm going to step aside here. I'm going to speak as an expert's point of view. I'm a baby boomer. I'm squarely within that group. Okay, they left out probably the most important thing, and that's that baby boomers are in love with themselves. They've been selfish people that they do what they want to do.
Hold on. Are you talking about boomers or millennials?
No.
Whoa,
Boomers like to point at the millennials because we raised them and act like we're old timers. But the truth of the matter is that if you grew up in my generation, you would know that baby boomers were are very selfish. And it's like, just look at what happened in the 60s and the 70s.
Right.
I mean, that cultural revolution, it's still in our heads, and it's like, I'm out of here, man, and all that stuff. And so it just doesn't surprise me,
Totally.
That's got to be part of it as well.
Yeah, I feel bad for Melinda in the sense that like having to compete against, his first kind of spouse partnership, which is Microsoft, couldn't be easy in a marriage and couldn't be easy to do and to step into that role. And I think with
wait. It couldn't be easy to marry Gates? Look, I'd make him breakfast every morning, man. I mean,
I'll talk to Maria
I'll get
about
in line
that.
behind Don.
What? I don't have to see you. I mean, go in your little library, and I'll see you next month. And,
but that's what I'm saying. Like for some partners, that works. But if you're somebody that's like, well, I want to do stuff together. I want to be there. I want that partnership, that collegiality. Then it's like you're competing against like a multi-billion-dollar company.
Yeah.
And like if he says I have to be at work because like the stock market will collapse if like we don't make a deal, what do you even respond to that as like a spouse? You're just like
Mane, though that's true when you're married to any professional. I mean, if you're married to a doctor or a lawyer, I mean, spouses that are men and women who are married to professionals have to sacrifice a lot.
That's
Cops' wives, and stuff like that. But I think though that you hit on something, and that is that she probably wanted a life.
Yeah.
Because after the $20 billion that's in your pocket, the other $20 billion doesn't really matter probably. And you want some love and affection and things like that.
Well, he did step down from the board of directors last year, or I guess in 2019, in the hopes of like being home with her more, and that was kind of their like.
Where are you getting all this research, man? I didn't read all this.
Are you a Microsoft stockholder, or are you like an insider?
I get like little newsletters.
Little news bits, yeah.
Well, that they met because she was an employee of Microsoft.
Yeah.
And apparently. And I think they'll tell the story is that she just accidentally happened to sit next to him during some kind of a meeting.
Smart girl.
Caught his attention, and so she had her hooks on him, pretty early on and stuff. So, but you know what though, I'm glad that they're doing it without bringing it into the public eye, because I think when we're talking about divorces of the Bezos and the Gates, we're talking about the market stability.
Yeah.
We're talking about a lot of people's jobs and things like that. So they have a responsibility to do it the right way, I think.
I think the media really wants it to kind of get nasty, so they have some headlines to talk about, and unfortunately. Or fortunately for them, they're not going to be able to, because it sounds like it's going to be a pretty amicable split.
I had read somewhere that they just purchased some property in Laguna Beach or something.
Oh, interesting.
And stuff. And I was thinking, Gates, Laguna Beach, laying on the beach, Gates. I'm thinking, okay, well, man, he's really like opening up.
He won't be doing that now.
Yeah, that was probably for her, I'm going to guess.
Maybe she's the one that's moving here after the split.
Yeah. Okay, so what's the next story we're going to talk about?
I want to talk about Tom Girardi and Erica Jane.
Okay.
So.
Wait, do you think that all of the people listening to this podcast know who Girardi is?
I definitely know who Girardi is.
You do?
Oh, yeah. He's like our most famous alumni at Loyola Law School. We had a building named after him until very recently.
Are they stripping it down?
Oh, yes.
Oh,
no. It's no longer called the Girardi Advocacy Center.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, so Tom Girardi, he's a very famous attorney. He's he was, I guess now, the #1 person in like environmental torts, like toxic torts. He is super well known. I think he was on the State Bar Hall of Fame. I didn't know we had that, but he was on it. And he married 20 years ago Erica. And Erica Jane, she was a waitress. They met. He walked into a restaurant. She waited on his table. They started dating. They married. And she's on The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. And she has she's on a Broadway show. I mean, she has this video that says it's expensive to be me because she spends, I think, like absurd amount of money every month on her glam team and herself. It's like in the thousands.
Why? I mean,
She's
a waitress.
baby boomer. No, I don't know.
No, she's not a baby boomer. I can tell you that much right now because she's like 20 years younger than him or something, right?
Yeah.
Let me. She was a waitress, man. Was she spending that kind of money when she was a waitress?
I'm telling you, Don, you do one thing and you do it right. And in Erica Jane's time, it's meeting Tom Girardi. So they get married. She files for divorce, saying that his multiple affairs pushed her to the edge, which is weird for Tom Girardi to have an affair, I think, at his age. I mean, it happens. I'm not doubting that. Anyway, she was asking for spousal support. He then was asking for attorney's fees. There's no prenup.
Wait, Girardi's asking for attorney's fees against his wife?
Yeah, there's no prenup, by the way. No prenuptial agreement, except after she files, all of these lawsuits happen. This is like a law school fact pattern. It's like everything. So Tom Girardi gets sued by the victims of the 2018 crash of the Boeing 737 because he embezzled the money that was supposed to go to the victims' families.
Allegedly.
Okay.
Last thing I want to do is have,
Allegedly, this happened, right? Allegedly, this happened.
This is what's been reported. We have no way of verifying, the truthfulness of any allegation.
And allegedly, every employee at his law firm, Girardi and Keese, wrote a memo about allegedly how they are not in agreement with how Girardi is allegedly running the firm, and they are resigning. And then the firm did wind down, kind of, so the business organization broke apart, so they had to wind down. And then they filed for bankruptcy because they had millions of dollars. They owed court reporters, they owed staff, they weren't paying.
It's like the Titanic just going down.
So they're in bankruptcy court right now for Chapter 7 liquidation. And the trustee is claiming that Girardi has $74.5 million in assets, and he owes $74.5 million, and he owes the firm $56.8 million.
Still walks away with a profit.
Well, recently the State Bar filed disciplinary charges and suspended his license. It was in late March 2021 because a lot of op-eds came out about State Bar and Girardi and how allegedly, I mean, I wasn't there, but allegedly he would host these parties for the bar and for judges and kind of schmooze and wine and dine. And then all of these alleged business practices that his firm was doing was just swept away and kept quiet. So,
well, I could tell you that he had a couple of those parties right here in good old Pasadena. The Pasadena Bar Association had his company a few times. I've attended some of them.
So on top of that,
I don't remember the schmoozing that heavily, though. Go ahead.
His brother went into court and is now his conservator because he has been recently diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and they're saying he has no recollection, he has no idea what's going on, nothing. And there was this huge issue of who gets the mansion because they wanted Erica and him out of the Pasadena mansion that they own and to liquidate the house, essentially.
Let me tell you, have you ever heard him speak?
Yes.
He gets up and speaks, and he's like the most likable, funny guy. He reminds me almost like Mel Brooks with his sense of humor. I mean, he was so funny and so nice, And you listen to him, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm sitting in the jury because he was a trial animal in his day, and I'm thinking, it's the likable factor that he gets it, and he's very quick-witted. Now, if he's got this dementia or Alzheimer, it's really sad. I mean, I don't know if it's a ruse or not. I wasn't there, and I'm not there, but that was a great mind.
Well, there's also now criminal investigations on both Erica and him. But the interesting thing is, because there's no prenup and they were married, the theory is that he funneled a lot of the money to her. So, which means that she's now also liable for, I think he was ordered to pay like $12 million to the victims' families.
Okay. Stop right there. So what's the legal analysis of that?
So we call those sham marriages, basically, where you're married specifically for the purposes of defrauding a third party.
Or what about a sham divorce?
Sham divorce, yeah,
Yeah.
same thing.
So here's what the law says is if the community benefited from the wrongdoing, then even if the spouse was an innocent spouse, didn't know about the wrongdoing, the community's got to pay it back.
Well,
right.
here,
Regardless of the transfers.
I doubt that she didn't know. Actually, a bankruptcy judge froze her assets and her, businesses, and she's still on the Real Housewives, so she has money of her own coming in. But they're under a lot. Like, this is like multi-million-dollar like fees, and then they have like what, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They have like 6, 7 lawsuits going on like all over in every single department.
Sounds like Donald Trump, man.
Yeah.
There's like ethics, there's criminal, there's civil, there's
You want
divorce.
to talk about a fall from grace.
Yeah.
Tom Girardi, just having been a Loyola alumni, he was held up as basically the legend of litigation. The trial attorney that every single person that went to law school wanted to be or wanted to work at Girardi and Keys. Yeah. His firm was legendary. He was held up as almost like a godlike figure. Not necessarily a godlike, but it's just someone truly to be aspirational to. But then we start hearing stories. He had 3 martinis at lunch every single day at Morton's, and he would come back and start yelling at his staff and things like that too. I was like, is that really true or not?
Where's Morton's?
Morton's is in 7th and Figueroa in that Metro Center. It's actually right across the street from his office. And I remember, like you said, I used to go to those parties too at his restaurant at Engine Company 28 in downtown LA, and we would be rubbing elbows sometimes with senators and congressmen and things like that. And it was kind of like, wow, I can't believe that
He was
I'm here.
the PI attorney in the
Yeah.
country.
Yeah.
He was the best known person.
Absolutely. Former president of CALA as well. Just, accolade after accolade. And it all started, I think, from my recollection, was an expose by the LA Times where they said the State Bar wasn't following up on complaints against him. And that might partially be due to just a general backlog of the filing of disciplinary cases. But then it just seemed to snowball. The divorce case, the civil lawsuits, and now the criminal investigation.
And there's a new one that just came out yesterday, a new lawsuit against him for more, alleged embezzlement of funds for crash victims, fire victims.
So
and
is it
other
kind of like a
cases.
Bernie Madoff thing where there could have possibly been this wrongdoing for many, many years, and then finally somebody looked and it was like, oh my God, man,
Right.
Something like that? Or is it something that happened later in his career, do you think?
Who knows? That's going to be up to the State Bar to figure out, and some of these lawsuits to figure out. But a lot of it could be, now that there's blood in the water, the sharks are coming to feed.
And I think this is a bigger problem because the State Bar just got cited for their disciplinary procedures like a few days ago.
Like what? What are they?
Like they don't follow up. There's a backlog.
Let me
They're
tell
not
you
doing
something.
their job right.
State Bar is there to take your head off, so don't go jumping on that wagon. They're not our friends, man. And they're truly there to protect the public. I shouldn't say that, but I've never known them to be light.
Right.
So this is like, I think that op-ed that came out about the LA Times, it came out a few weeks after this whole divorce, and then it just kind of snowballed into something, and people were really reading it and wondering what happened. Why was his license active for so long? Why was there never any investigation?
It's the same thing with, it's like Bernie Madoff. The SEC would never look, at any complaints about the guy that basically ran the Wall Street and stuff like that. He was so reputable that come on, they never take any complaints seriously. That probably was the aura around Girardi.
I think so. The implications are potentially huge. If this is something that regulatory agencies or even like the State Bar knew about, but they just turned it the other way for years and years and years while clients or people were defrauded as a result of his actions. I don't think Girardi is going to be the only person to go down for some of these allegations.
No.
So we could be looking at some very serious things coming out of the woodwork now.
And especially because when their firm started to break apart, a lot of internal memos were written about business practices of the firm allegedly. So then you don't even know, right?
The rats, what do they say? The rats bailing out of
Yeah,
the ship?
jumping off of the ship.
Yeah, you don't know like who is complicit, who knew, the conversations, whether he didn't know and he was just, as a defense counsel, I heard in trial go, my client was left in the dark like a mushroom and left to grow. I mean, I don't
That was his quote, or
That was his quote.
okay.
I like that. I'm gonna use
that. So if they were left and he was left in the dark and had no idea what was going on, and maybe he did say, "Hey, send this check out," and then it was never done, and who knows? But there's a lot that's going to come out. It's just, look at all these attorneys' fees they have to pay, though. They have
Going back to you said he's got like 8 lawsuits going on at one time.
Yeah.
I always think not being political here, but a guy like Donald Trump, who always has his hand on a lawsuit here and there and stuff like that. If you've ever been in litigation, as a party, it is very stressful. The people that we represent, they usually just have one. It's their divorce, and you see what toll it takes on them.
Yeah.
Think about 5 or 6 of them when you don't know, whether you're. To me, it's a unusual human being that could just move on and just continue on with their life, with that stuff happening and stuff. It's like.
Yeah, and what's sad about this one is, let's say they settled the civil one, they settled the business one, they settled the issue of the whatever conservatorship, they settled their divorce. They have bigger problems to deal with criminal charges, bankruptcy. I asked for the bankruptcy court. The trustees are not easygoing. They're not the types to just negotiate and go, "Oh yeah, okay, we believe you, we agree with this document." They're gonna go full throttle on this, and so.
It'll be interesting to see what the depositions come out with. There should be some interesting transcripts.
If they could even
if he doesn't plead the
him,
fifth. If he doesn't plead the fifth.
Alzheimer's and everything.
Yeah.
How old is he now?
He's got to be in his 70s, I would say.
I think older than that.
78 or something.
Probably.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Right.
What do we have any other stories?
I think you had one last one.
Yeah, I think we do, but maybe we'll have to save that for the next one because I think we're.
Give us a preview. What's it going to be?
Very quickly. Anna Faris and Chris Pratt. Chris Pratt, obviously, of Guardians of the Galaxy fame. Anna Faris was actually on a podcast with Rachel Bilson from the OC from back in the day. She's talking about her divorce and basically just saying, you know what? I kind of felt like my hand was forced. She felt like she never should have gotten married. She felt like she never should have gotten through that process, and ultimately that the divorce was inevitable at the time that she got married, which is kind of interesting because we think about marriage as being such a happy and satisfying day, and to have those kind of reservations.
Oh, I could tell you that's not always the case.
Well, having been married, yeah. So.
It's cool. We'll end on this note, which is cool about being a divorce attorney or family law attorney in LA, is you walk the hallways and you run into celebrities. And the one that I saw Chuck Liddell once in Central Court. He's a big MMA icon. Some people don't know who he is. I know who he is. And I wanted to run up to Chuck and, "Chuck, hey man, what are you doing?" And I knew something about his case, but I was just watching it and stuff. I won't comment on it. Then I saw him over at the Burbank Airport, a couple of years later, and I was parking my car when he was getting out of his car with his wife, and I'm like, "Chuck Liddell!"
That's the most LA thing you could possibly do.
That is very awesome.
I think he enjoyed it. So I don't know. Okay. All right. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.
Happy Cinco de Mayo.
Get back to work.